Welcome back. Just keep an eye out on the rupee. As we speak, we have, the rupee has moved to the low point of trade, perilously close to that 85 mark as well. 84.92 is where we are on the currency as against the dollar. Weakening was expected because of the trade deficit data that came by for November. But, we'll just monitor this because this has an inverse relation on some of these IT stocks. The Nifty is back above the 24,400 mark once again. And pull up the Nifty IT index, you'd see a smidge of a recovery from the lows on the IT index as well. So there you have it. Nifty is recovered from the lows, off lows by the IT stocks. So if you pull up maybe some of the intraday charts of Wipro is the only big four from the Nifty in the green right now, but has seen a recovery of about 0.75% from the lows. HCL Tech also has seen a recovery, and we have Infosys up around 0.8% from the lows. Mind you, still in the red. The Nifty is still down 230 points, but a wee bit of support coming in from the IT pack on account of the weakness that we're seeing in the rupee itself. Speaking about support, the one thing that we all need for support to run through our day and most importantly through December is tea. Bala Sarda, who's the founder and CEO of Vahdam India, now joins in. You all know Vahdam as, one of the brand's domestic homegrown tea brands. Bala, we've been speaking to a lot of the listed companies. They reported their second quarter numbers as well. All of them, while they spoke about weakness in consumer sentiment, they called out in specific the weakness in tea, largely because they're losing market share to unorganized players, loose tea, because of higher tea prices. Is that largely because of, the higher tea prices? Or maybe there are players like you and others who are making inroads and taking away market share from the larger players?
Right. So, Mangalam, firstly, thanks for having me. I think on your question about, what are the reasons impacting some of the prices of these listed companies? Firstly, I think about Vahdam India, just to remind you that, we are primarily a global play, which basically means 97% of our business comes from export markets, primarily the US, Canada, Europe. So it's clear that it's not us and primarily the rising tea prices. If you see, we have seen almost a 20% increase in prices, especially in the summer harvest, year on year, for some of the products these companies procure. Three key reasons. One, of course, the extreme weather conditions. I think the crop in West Bengal and Assam, which is almost 90% of India's key harvest or key production volume, was massively impacted because of heat waves, then a lot of flooding. Secondly, there has been an oversupply from regions like Sri Lanka and Kenya, which has been further impacting prices from an export perspective. And I think one more thing I want to add is the government has also banned 20 pesticides in tea harvest, which has also led to a decline in tea efficiency yields, right, at a farmer level, right? So I think these are three reasons which has led the price to go up. And because some of these players play in the domestic CTC market, where margins tend to be much lower and way more sensitive to any increase or decrease, I think this has led to obviously them increasing prices. A lot of them plan to do it this quarter, if not done already, which of course poses a risk on consumption. But I think the more premium end of the market, which is herbals, green tea is something which we cater to even globally. I think that's because of our higher margins, right? And value addition. I think that's been obviously impacted significantly lesser. And we don't see any change from a consumer perspective on that front.
And that's a point that was made by Unilever as well, where they said that, green and functional tea continue to deliver strong volume growth itself. In a higher tea price environment, how does consumption get impacted? I mean, do you see, it's the classic college case, right? If tea prices increases, maybe the demand for coffee increases. Is there substitution? How do consumers behave?
I think overall, Mangalam, the consumption of tea primarily in India is obviously very, very specific to that category. So we don't see too much movement into other categories. But definitely, there are two things which happen. Consumers either downtrade, right? And as you know, right, in the CTC market, there are a lot of regional players, right, who are leading, across states in India. So while we have these bigger Tatas and the Unilevers leading charge, but there are a lot of these regional players. So a lot of people do tend to downtrade, and overall maybe consumption frequency, tends to sort of go down. And mind you, that sensitivity is lesser in the winter season. It only goes up, with prices outside of the winter season. But that's how I would put it from a consumption standpoint.
Bala, this one is from me then, and you pointed on a couple of things really. One was, of course, about the harsh weather. The second is that we understand that the whole season this time is looking at an early closure as well. In the month of November itself is when we saw those names coming in. While the Indian markets are looking at slightly lower in sense of consumption, even plateauing for that sense, how have exports been for you? I want to understand, one, on the prices part of it, because we've seen the prices gain quite immensely. Has that been shifted into your export numbers? And we've seen various other export in sense of merchandise do kind of okay when it comes to US and Canada. Have those numbers improved for you? What really has been a quarter-over-quarter or an year-on-year growth for your sense of exports?
So Manisha, I think from our perspective, I think some of these specific points I talked about has not impacted us in any way, if I could put it like that. I'll tell you 2-3 reasons. One, if you look at the average tea price per kilogram in India tends to be somewhere below $3, right? And a Vahdam India, where we do a lot of value add, cut out all these middlemen who eat some part of the share, going up to a consumer in all these global markets. We cut out all of that as a brand. So our sensitivity to that is much lesser because our average selling price tends to be north of $75 a kilogram, right? So that 10 to 15% or even a 20% change does not really impact us. Number two, I think as a company, we also are driven by innovation. So a lot of our blends is not only tea, but a blend of teas with Indian superfoods like spices, herbs, which of course have a very, very different value chain. So that also reduces the impact even further. For us, overall, I think the good thing has been that after 2 years of some of these global markets seeing a consumption slowdown, primarily due to a factoring in of the balancing act out of what we saw post-COVID. And secondly, the NASDAQ was at an all-time low. So overall sentiment was lower. But I think now things are looking much more positive. I think we believe with Trump coming in, US, Canada, overall, we are already seeing a much better sentiment with consumers. And we saw that in Black Friday and Cyber Monday, which is a good proxy to tell you what's really happening in the market. And that's really what we have seen work well with Vahdam as well. We are back to strong double-digit growth. We're going to finish the year with EBITDA and net profitability. And sort of, and while, of course, a lot of that is also because of our distribution expansion in offline retail in some of these markets, I think the overall sentiment becoming better is definitely going to help us now over the next 18 to 24 months.
Sure. Bala, I have a quick final last question. So we understand that you, while of course exports is a big market for you and you have a lot of celebrities as your consumers as well, what is the special tea that you've launched this year, or what are the plans now for 2025 in sense of specialty teas?
Right. So I think, Manisha, like I said, we try to do a lot of innovation in the way we present our products. So, India is this amazing land making some of the world's finest turmeric, moringa, ashwagandha, all these superfoods, which now the West is embracing. We've been consuming them for thousands of years. So I think Vahdam tends to do a lot of innovation and bringing them in formats which consumers can enjoy them in a much, much easier way. So we, for example, had 2 best-selling ashwagandha blends in tea formats, which we launched in the US and Canada market, which has been doing very, very well. And in the next 12 months, we again have a lot of innovation coming in. So blending teas with Indian superfoods is something, we believe there's a big opportunity in. And, Vahdam has been sort of trying to lead that for a while now.
The IPO, does that come in 25 or 26?
I was waiting for Mangalam to ask that question. But, no, I think, Mangalam, honestly, like I told you last time, I think it's been very interesting to see some of our fellow founders have IPO'd. And, we've been obviously closely observing, what the market is looking for from young companies like us. So as of today, absolutely no plans and timeline. I think we need to work on our scale. We need to work on a stronger story. We also need to work on a more stable EBITDA profile as a business. And I think then absolutely, listing is one of the options we would definitely look at.
All right, the next time we get you, we'll also ask you about your annual revenue run rate and profitability, etc. We'll pin you down on the numbers a bit more, but thank you for joining in. Wish you, your family, a very happy new year and season's greetings as well. Good luck with all the new launches that you're doing all of next year too. With that, take a short break, come back. The Nifty holding around that 24,400 mark. The mid caps falling a lot lesser. We focus on markets and a lot of individual stocks. Stay with us.